everyone, Ashley Mailloux and Mike Beer here with the Daily Racing Form. This Saturday at Tampa Bay Downs, there's some big races that do affect the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby in terms of points, and we're going to look at the Suncoast here for the 3-year-old fillies. And a group of 8 here has been assembled. 1 mile and 40 yards is the distance on the main track, and very interesting field. I think in terms of kicking off the late pick 4 in terms of a sequence, I certainly could not single here, Mike.
Me either. This race is really interesting, and maybe way more interesting than it looks at first glance, because I do think you have 2 really logical horses in here in the 4 and the 6. But the longer I looked at it, I wasn't so sure that either one of those horses had to win here.
We'll take a look at the time form US pace projections here for this 1 mile and 40 yard event. And you can see kind of a clustered group in terms of the front. Doesn't say fast pace, but you can see her Laugh, who draws post 4 in here, could be forwardly placed, was certainly forward in both of her starts, even on the stretch out last time at the fairgrounds. The 8, Chloe on the outside, was forward, coming out of 5.5 furlong event. But even look at the 5 and the 6 there. They're the types of horses that typically they don't want to be too far off the action.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how the pace plays out because, there are a bunch of horses stretching out in here, and that could sort of, pump this pace up a little bit. And we'll just see if that happens. It'll be interesting just to see if her Laugh can kind of deal with that, because if nothing else, she comes out of a stakes win around 2 turns. But man, did they go really slow early in there.
We'll kick it off here with the number 1, who's projected to maybe be at the back of the pack. That's Deloraine, but she's been extremely impressive when you look at her resume. She's gotten better with each and every start. And then last time out, she just cruised here, Mike. I mean, this is a really easy win to get her 2nd career victory. She's going to win by 8.25. I know it's on the turf. I typically don't pull turf replays, but she's been able to run on any surface so far.
Yeah, maybe this is just evidence enough that she's just a turf horse and they got her on the right surface last time and it led to that win. I'm not so sure about that because, as you already pointed out, she's run well on all 3 surfaces so far. I mean, the only dirt start last summer in Indiana, they just walked in front of her. I mean, she didn't get a bad trip in there, but they were crawling on the lead. She actually tried really hard in there and just couldn't really make up any ground. I don't think that's a poor performance at all. Like you said, she's getting better with every start. I know that her wins are on different surfaces, but she is bred to be a dirt horse. She's by Candy Ride. Her 2nd dam was Unbridled Elaine, who won the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I mean, this is all dirt. It's all distance. Owen Hardy just recently, Ashley, First Resort, turf to dirt, wins the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill. Poster, who we're going to see in the Sam F. Davis later, turf to dirt, won the Grade 2 Remsen at Aqueduct. He does this with horses, and they run.
Yeah, you stole my thunder talking about Poster. I mean, he's having a pretty good year when you look at maybe the last 12 months, has some live younger horses in the barn. The number 2, Dancing Magic, up next for the Michael Campbell operation. We'll take a look at her most recent effort. She was able to win the Gasparilla, which when you think of kind of prepping for this is the logical path that a lot of horses take. And she was towards the back of the pack. She got the pace help that she needed. It was 7/8. The question is, do we see her stretching out against this group?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the pace of that race too, because it feels like she kind of takes advantage here. They went fast in front of her. They're very tired, and she's going to close them down. It's a good performance for her. I do feel like she took advantage, and I'm not so sure that she's going to be as good stretching out.
The number 3, Italian Soiree, this one for John Terranova. Blinkers go on. They sort of tried something last time out in the Jessamine where they took them off. It didn't pan out the way that they necessarily wanted to. What are your thoughts about this filly? I'm just going to be honest. I have some reservations. Obviously, her dirt races are good, but they're sprints. And then it looks like they made this plan to stretch out on the grass. And last time, the 2-turn test on the grass, I think it was okay. I don't think it was an awesome performance.
It wasn't. I'll just say that I didn't love the trip that she got in that race. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to blame Saez for it, but I mean, she's just very wide all the way around the track. I didn't want to be too hard on her for it. I'll be honest. Actually, I won't mind seeing them go back to turf with her at some point because she has enough pedigree for that. But she's also got a lot of pedigree to handle routing on the dirt. I mean, she's a full sister to Be Better, who's a multiple stakes winner going long on dirt. That horse will go all day long. I think this horse is pretty interesting stretching out on dirt.
And when you go to that most recent dirt race, at least when we see who beat her, the Queen's MG, she was much the best, but she actually ran okay, I thought, in the Forward Gal not too long ago at Gulfstream Park. The number 4, her Laugh, is up next, and she's an undefeated 2 for 2. She was able to pass the 2-turn test last time out at the fairgrounds. My concern with that race, as good as she looked and how easy it was, she went really slow. She kind of lucked out there in terms of your first 2-turn test, having a horse that has early foot, just making the lead like that. There's things to like. I guess it also depends on the price.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I'm not really going to add anything to that. She ran fine last time, but I just thought she had all the best of it. And it's not like she ran, some kind of great race of 74 buyers. Not doesn't make her scary. I liked her debut. I think she's talented. I have no problem with them coming right back in this race, and maybe she'll just run really well again. But I'm not taking a short price on this horse.
And it looks like they were able to bypass. I believe they were entered in the Martha Washington at Oaklawn and decided to train up to this race instead. The number 5, Junta, up next, a daughter of Constitution. We know the Constitutions are typically pretty good, first-time starters around 15%, but in terms of her performance, I thought it was a really good race. I know it's just a maiden special weight at Tampa, but the way that she did it, I don't think it was necessarily handed to her, and she looked very good.
Hey, great. I like the early move that she made in that race. I like the way that she finished it off. Even though if you go back and watch the replay, see her, she's still green through the stretch of that race, like starting to look around a little bit, but she ran right through the wire. She's bred to stretch out. I don't know. I thought this was a really interesting horse in here for a guy who doesn't really have a lot of horses like this, but he might have a good filly here.
The number 6, Lacaria from Mark Cassie and Tracy Farmer. We'll take a look at one of her wins. She's won twice in her career. This was the maiden score at Saratoga, which I think stamped her as sort of a horse to watch. She was 9-2 in this spot. She just cruises and crushes this field. Her other 7 rivals much behind her. When you look at this, she goes on to win the Pocahontas. Is it safe to say on paper she's the horse to beat based on her resume and who she's been racing against?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this was a good performance. I liked her Pocahontas, and I like that she did it a different way in the Pocahontas, coming from well back off the pace. I'm not sure that was a great field, but I do like the way that she won that race. I decided that I wouldn't be too hard on her for the Breeders' Cup. I'll be honest. I thought that she'd run better than that in there. And then you go back and watch that. I went back and watched it again last night. She just looked like she was totally overmatched by those horses.
Yeah, and she was beaten by 16 1/4. And we keep on talking about some other horses that she's faced. Vodka with a Twist. We know what she's gone on to do. Eclatant, I think, was a gift last weekend at Gulfstream Park. Paid $10 to win, but looks to be like a serious filly, especially in the 3-year-old ranks. We'll go on to the 7 here. Queen in the Deck for Carlos Muniz was able to win last time out. It took her a little bit to graduate. In her case, it seems like she was able to come alive with these 2-turn races. Her other 2-turn race on the dirt was at Keeneland. It was a very good second. It wasn't that restricted based on her purchase price, but she was second at 16-1. To me, if anything, you like her because you think she can, kind of improve with those 2-turn races.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we'll see if, maybe she can just sort of get up close here and get the right kind of a trip. But she's one in here who's going to have to get a lot faster. Could be the longest shot on the board in this race.
And then rounding out the field is the 8, Chloe, who comes in from Gulfstream Park for Victor Barboza Jr. Eye-catching debut, but it was 5.5 on the Tapeta. And she does get that nice buyer speed figure, but I don't know how you assess it and what you thought of it. I thought she could be overbet here. She could offer good value, but I think people are going to gravitate towards the figure on debut.
Yeah, I wonder how much money it pulls her way. I don't know what to do with her. It's a 5.5 furlong race on a different surface. I thought she was super impressive in there. She had big speed. It's not like they handed the race to her. A horse came up and challenged her early. She easily put that horse away and then just got away from that field at the end with a figure. If you look up her pedigree, I mean, she's by Tis the Law. They all want to go long. It's all distance on the bottom of this pedigree, and there's some quality down there too. This horse is a real wild card here. I have no idea how they're going to bet it.
Now, when you go back to that race at Gulfstream, only 2 horses in the field had race day experience. They were both big prices. The firsters took all the love, and no one has come back to race since then, since it was just about a month ago. So a little tough for me to at least decipher that race. So look at our top picks here for the Suncoast. And we're kind of in different directions. We use some of the same horses, but what we know about Deloraine is she can run on anything, and she's going to be a huge price come Saturday.
Yeah, this is more of an anti-pick than anything else. I mean, this is one of those races where I'm just not afraid to bet against the 4 or the 6. They're probably the 2 right horses, actually, but I'm not afraid of them. I thought the race was maybe a little bit more wide open than that. And I think Deloraine she's going to be a price in here, and I think she's way better than she looks on paper.
Yeah, and she has that steady progression in terms of figures and just her performances, how she's visually looked. She seems to be maturing. I have reservations about her laugh. I do think there's a scenario in here where she could be very good, but I think she's going to be overbet. They bypassed a different race to come here. It makes me sort of wonder what the reasoning was. Maybe it was missing some training down at the fairgrounds. And I think when I looked at this race, just looking at Cara, as I mentioned, the horses that she's faced, I think there are things to like about her, and I do think you can give her some forgiveness for last time out, but she is going to be what I think is a very short price on Saturday in a wide open race. 1-3-5-6 for Mike, 6-4-5-3 for me. It's the start of the late pick four this Saturday. It's the Suncoast. Good luck.